Hi, I'm Jeff DeGraff. I often get asked, what does it take to really innovate? I don't mean drawing the pictures and the circles and arrows and all the interesting kind of fad stuff. I mean really, what does it take to create sustainable innovation, to create a growth engine in your organization? Well, there's a great backstory to this. The cover of Time magazine on the March 14th edition asked the question, are America's best days behind her? And, you know, there's a lot of things that create this anxiety that would raise this question. Certainly the Great Recession. We've never seen anything like this in at least a century. The whole idea of the debt levels that we're looking at, and of course our workforce. We're now looking at between 500,000 and 750,000 jobs going overseas, not because of low cost of labor, but because of technical expertise, our prowess to make things better and new, because that's what innovation is all about. And of course, the different groups are trying very hard to remedy these situations, but really what we're in the middle of is a lot of caustic conflict. Not that sort of productive, positive tension that innovation needs, but that sort of really dysfunctional caustic conflict. Think about the immovable object and the irresistible force of the healthcare debate. Think about what's going on in Wisconsin with the two sides, casting aspersions against each other. And nothing productive has come out of those kind of discussions because they're not engaging each other. Sure, there's conflict, but it's not constructive, and no one has encountered the other person. They've done everything they can to outmaneuver the other. And of course, innovation is about producing this very positive form of tension, which comes from diversity, and it comes from diversity that produces hybrids. And this is why when we look at things like patents applied for around the world, we notice that the most patents and the most intellectual property come from a very few places on the planet where people really have different ideas. And they eat different food and they believe different things, because that form of constructive engagement is really what produces the kind of hybrids that we need. And of course, that's our great strength in America. We're the most diverse culture, the most diverse country on the planet. It's our great piece. So what's really required to innovate really has three pieces to it. And this is what the research says. And I'm going to give you the sort of the shorthand answer. The first is we have to have the availability of venture capital. And it doesn't mean necessarily venture capitalists. It just means that there's money that we can invest. And boy, this country has done a great job with this. And even after the Great Recession, we have the availability of capital. The second is we need to have an entrepreneurial culture. Again, this is something that this country typically has excelled at, but we're starting to see other countries excel at this, in particular India and China. And of course, Southeast Asia is beginning to emerge in this area as well. So the culture of, I want to start something, I want to grow, I want to make something new. And finally, we need a capable workforce. That's going to be essential, that we have people who know how to make things better and new. Not just people who are doing well on standard achievement tests, but people who have ideas about how to change things, how to make things novel, how to make things different, how to make things better. Now, there's a bunch of interesting discussions that sort of take us off the track. One of them is education, because education is really the ace in the deck. The capability is really the key to everything. Now, it's interesting that the debate has turned into the debate about tax. And tax is an important thing. I certainly would like to pay less tax. But the truth of the matter is tax has very little correlation to innovation and where innovation happens. And in fact, if you think about this, the states of California, the states of New York, and Massachusetts have the highest realizable tax rate in the United States. And of course, they have their problems with the budgets and their own challenges, but they also have about 3/4 of all the venture capital in the United States. So in fact, if we were going to make an argument about tax, it would be an inverse argument. The high tax states seem to be where most of the venture capital money is. Now, I'm not trying to make that argument. What I'm trying to say is that education is key, and I want to give you a great example. I live in the great state of Michigan, and I want to compare the great state of Michigan to Minnesota, another cold weather Great Lakes state. The state of Michigan has about half of the venture capital that the state of Minnesota has, which isn't very much. And the state of Minnesota has about half of the people that the state of Michigan has. So in a sense, they're hitting way above their weight in the state of Minnesota. And when we look at these two states together, the most obvious difference between the two states is that the state of Minnesota, 37% of adults 25 or over have a bachelor's degree. And in the state of Michigan, it's a little over 15%. So they literally have twice as many educated people. They have twice as much venture capital, even though they have half the population. And this is a very good insight as to what's required to make innovation happen. So we need to invest in the capability of our workforce. That's going to become mission critical. Do we have people who can innovate? Because in a high wage economy like we have in the U.S., innovation isn't your best friend, it's your only friend. Everything else can be automated or pushed offshore. That's it for today. I'm Jeff DeGraff. Thank you.